Asia Pop Party.
What's up, guys? I'm Joey, and today we have a very talented individual, a man who wears many hats. He's a singer-songwriter, he's a DJ, he's a record producer, and he's a gamer, much like me. So today we are going to have a great conversation with Porter Robinson. What's up?
Hello. How are you, Joey?
I am very well. So you're currently in my hometown of Taiwan. When did you land?
So I got in last night, and ever since I got here, I've just been trying to do as much as I possibly can. I think it's my third time in Taipei in my life, and I've always felt that I'd never had quite enough time to explore as much as I wanted to. So, on this call, maybe we'll talk through it. I also want to get your recommendation for essential snacks because I'm always looking for them. Like I'm always looking for
sure.
like food and also snacks are like my passion.
Yeah. I mean, the organizers will definitely have put you on some sort of a Taiwanese diet by now, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I went to we went around the corner and we ended up going to this breakfast place where it was just one older woman, and she was just like making sandwiches and cooking noodles for everybody, and it was like one of the best breakfasts I've had in a long time. It was a real hole in the wall, but like incredible food. And there was somebody who I thought I was in a kind of obscure place, right? Like not a super tourist place, but there was a fan who came in who was like, "Are you Porter Robinson?" I was like, "Yeah." How did you know I was here? He's like, "No, I was just getting breakfast." So yeah, I've been having fun so far.
That's actually a pretty good impression of Taiwan, like a hole in the wall kind of breakfast place, because that's the kind of place that I grew up with. And at these places, what they always have is a series of at least what used to be my favorite manga, be it Dragon Ball Z or Slam Dunk. And that was what kids used to do. Like you just go to these places and it's almost an excuse to be like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm going to get breakfast so I can spend the whole day studying, to have the energy for it." But what you're really doing is you're reading manga in those places. So I know you're into Japanese culture a lot too. And I would say this is the most Japanese culture loving country aside from Japan itself. So the food, the music, the anime, we love them. Now, have you embraced some of that so far?
Well, I had a little bit of that experience. I didn't know that about Taipei at all, and so we went to the Taipei City Mall like 10 minutes ago, and there was like a whole string of like 80 consecutive stores that was all otaku culture. It was little capsule vending machines, lots of people in cosplay, tons and tons of Japanese arcades. And there's a lot of guys in my crew. We're touring with 9 people here in Asia, and many of them have never been to Japan before. And I told them, like, it almost feels like a spoiler alert being here a little bit, because there's so many things here that actually remind me of Japan compared to other Asian cities. But of course, while I'm here, the thing that I want to find is what's uniquely Taiwanese. I want to find I want to find the things here that are, of course, while I'm interested in Japan, I want to know the center of this culture too. So that's what I'm looking for the most.
Yeah. I think there are parts of Taipei where you can really just call them like Little Tokyo, because they really resonate with the culture that you can find in Tokyo. What is very authentically Taiwanese is all of the Chinese culture and Japanese culture, and of course we had some colonial past as well, and then they all merge into one. But tech, I would say is what this country is really about. Do you think this is actually a good place for the album Nurture? Does it carry some of that culture, and it might be actually a fitting place for Taiwan? And after all, it's a sold out show, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was so excited to see how quickly the show sold out. Because, when I've played in Taiwan in the past, it's mostly been kind of playing as a DJ and music festivals, and this is more of a ticketed live experience where I'm singing and where I'm playing just my songs and nothing else. And so I think, my agent and everyone on my team, they weren't really sure, is it going to translate for Porter to come to Asia and to not just be playing things like Ultra and playing, Zouk and festivals and things like that. And I really hope it can work, because I think this is the center of what I'm interested in as an artist is being more of a songwriter. In addition to being the producer. And so to sell out the live venue was really exciting for me. And my impression of Taipei and of Taiwan in general is that I think it's a place with a really high level of creativity and a really high sort of lust for life and love of of life. And like I said, I'm very new here, but like I was checking out some of the artist districts and stuff, and it's just so cool. It's like, I mean, I've just so far only looked at pictures. I'm probably gonna go later on in the day, but like public art and just the vibe of the people, it just feels so alive. And so I think for that reason, you know, of course, Japanese music and culture is a part of what I do. And I actually didn't even know until today that it's pretty popular here in Taiwan. But I also think there's another side of it too, which is just about living and just about creativity. And I really hope that the show resonates for everybody. As I've been walking around, I met lovely people who've been introducing themselves to me, and I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah. And you do come from a very creative family, though. And I don't know if it's in that order, but you're the second of a 4-brother family.
Yes.
I don't know who's the first. Is it Robert that's the first, or is it Nikki?
So Nick is the oldest.
Oh, Nick, you.
And then me, and then Mark, and then Robert.
Okay, so Nick is a million, subscribed YouTuber.
Yeah.
And Mark and Rob are both designers.
Yeah.
So you come from a very, creative family, and you guys all tend to be very interested in the Japanese culture too, right? Like, how did that happen in the family? How did you all kind of sort of ended up liking similar things?
Well, funny enough, maybe the only exception is that I think Robert, my youngest brother, is like, he's always been pretty different from the rest of us.
Okay.
And so he's like not the most interested in Japanese. Whenever we always go on these road trips together as brothers, and we would listen to music together, and his contributions to the playlist, we always have a group playlist. His were always super different. It opens our mind to something else, something really new. But your point is well taken that, yeah, for the most of us, we're all really interested in Japan and in Asian culture generally, and in games and kind of otaku things. And the best way I can describe how we all ended up like this was, so my older brother, Nick, was a bit of a maverick, I think. Like we grew up in rural North Carolina, where the things that people were interested in around us was mostly college basketball. That was really the main culture of our area.
Yeah.
And he was incredibly interested in video games and computers and obscure culture. And one of the ways that being a nerd was expressed, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s when we grew up, kind of the alternative culture was, we had a late night television channel called Adult Swim, where the main cartoon, are you familiar with Adult Swim?
Yeah.
And the programming back then, they had like Cowboy Bebop, and they had Paranoia Agent and Samurai Champloo, and a bunch of like kind of like cool anime. And in addition to that, like, I think if you're interested in video games, before the Xbox came out, you were either playing on a PlayStation or a Nintendo console. And so just naturally, I think when you're from the ages of 9 to 14 years old, you're like a sponge. The things that you love, you absorb them, and those things that you absorb tend to stay with you for life. And so when we're hitting adolescence, the media that we were consuming at that age was so much Japanese media. And so the music and the style of the chords and the character designs and all these things, I think, became very infectious to us. And so my 2 younger brothers, we kind of were like born in 2 pairs. It was like 1990, my older brother, me 1992, and my younger brothers were born a year apart, like 1999 and 2000. And they grew up kind of fast because they wanted to hang out with the older brothers, and so they learned our references and they learned our stuff. And the other thing you say about us being a creative family is, like, we didn't know that growing up. Like, I did the music thing, and then Nick went into gaming journalism and YouTube, and I think that kind of set a model for my younger brothers, saying, like, you can do this. And so, yeah, Mark's a fashion designer, and Robert is he's making music, and he's also a graphic designer. And yeah, it's almost just like maybe the final piece of that puzzle is that me and my brothers, it's very unusual for a family of 4 boys, but we never had any fist fights. We all really, I mean, sometimes we would spar verbally, we would argue, but like we were mostly just best friends. And so we were almost just like we had each other's backs, you know, and we support each other in creativity so yeah, it's funny that you know that about my brothers. Most people don't know that. You're very well researched.
Actually, my producer asked me to ask this question because he himself really loves gaming, and he also loves the Japanese anime and manga. But at the same time, we were both wondering, with a family of 4 brothers, and you said you guys were pretty peaceful with each other, but did you ever, while playing video games, get into fights? And how did that work? Did you orderly take turns, or did you ever get into something fuzzy?
Dude, most of the conflict that happened was between me and my older brother when we were younger. And it was because the only real thing that drove conflict on our family was that we had one computer. So that was really, you're exactly right. That was the problem. It was like, Mom said it's my turn to get on. No, okay, I'm almost done, But like, honestly, like, we've never hit each other except for just playing and sparring. I don't know why that is, but just the 4 of us just got along so extremely well. And I think we always see each other as our closest allies and closest team. And like, maybe the other thing is that I think our parents didn't make us really compete for much. It was more like a collaboration between us. And like, every year for Christmas, we're all so excited to see each other. And it's like, it's one of the biggest blessings, I think, in my whole life, is that like, my brothers are like, as long as I have them, then everything's all good. Like, we're very, very close.
Yeah, that's very nice to hear. And someone who's recently a new parent with 2 boys, it's nice to hear that there's a family of 4 boys, the Robinsons, who support each other, because I do want my kids to grow up the same way, like to know that as soon as you came to this world, you have a close ally who will never give you up, only if the parents could kind of bring them up the right way and install that kind of camaraderie between them. On a brighter side, though, I think the album Nurture certainly brings out the more positive side of human emotions. So like Porter said earlier on, it's a very major key sounding album with some melancholy in it. So if you want to dabble in that emotion, gosh, go listen to this album. It's a great it's a great body of work. And Porter, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
Asia Pop 40.